Can you talk to us about a couple of concepts from the book, how it influenced your leadership style? So obviously you are implementing adaptive leadership practices and also innovating in parallel. Can you share any challenges you faced doing both in parallel? In today's world, how do you see the concept of adaptive leadership evolving in the future?
The technical problems are those that almost we know how to define the problem and we know how to define the solution. It's just a matter of putting a plan in. And then the adaptive problems are those that we don't know even how to define the problem, and even less what is the endpoint solution. We don't know. People is not resistant to the change by itself, it's to the losses. So one thing that you need to evaluate when there are changes is not that you don't want to change. People always want to do something better. It's the feeling that you are losing. So acknowledging what are the losses for the organization, what are the losses for the team, and what are the losses for each individual, I think is very, very, very important.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 10x Growth Strategies podcast. This is your host, Saradha Sriram, business technology strategist. We have with us today Guayente Sanmartin. Guayente joined HP as an R&D engineer in the large format business and quickly rose to various global leadership roles. Currently, she is the division president for commercial systems and Displaced solutions business at HP Inc. She holds a master's degree in telecommunications engineering and a PhD master's degree from the IESE Business School in Barcelona, Spain. Guayente is very passionate about innovation and team development with a special focus on empowering women. Welcome to our podcast, Guayente.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
We are excited to have you. The book we're talking about today is The Practice of Adaptive Leadership, Tools and Tactics for Changing Your Organization and the World by Ronald Heifetz, Marty Linsky, and Alexander Grashow. Guayente, walk us through your journey. Talk to us about your family and what inspired you to read the book, The Practice of Adaptive Leadership.
First, I always say that my life has been one of the most adaptive ones. My family is from a very small village in the Pyrenees, and immediately, I moved to live in Barcelona, where I studied there. And professionally, I started in a business, that I still adore, that is the large format printing business. But then I moved, to Paris, to Singapore, to the US, then back to Barcelona, and back to the US in very different roles in HP. HP is a company that I have been extremely lucky to be able to grow, where I have been in different businesses, like the print business, the PC business, the service business, and in different functions. So I always say, one quote that Carly Fiorina used to always say, our old CEO, change is the only thing constant. And certainly, this book, of adaptive leadership is one of the books that has I would say help me more, understand how to adaptive leadership is the only way to go, is the only way to move organizations and culture.
That's a very interesting, journey that you had, traversing across the world, and how this book has really been like a framework for you. Can you talk to us about a couple of concepts from the book, how it influenced your leadership style? I would really like if you can share a personal story on how you use the tools and tactics and how it made a significant impact.
So first, I want to say that, as any change, on how you lead is a journey, And for that, I have had a coach, and for myself and for my staff for the last close to 1 year almost now, where we are learning together, and improving together. And this is an improvement that you have to do personally and with the team around you. So I think that is the first thing, is like having a leadership coach. The second thing is there are some concepts in the book that I want to talk first, and is one of the most important ones is we need to understand as leaders that we are facing two types of problems, what we call the technical problems and the adaptative problems. The technical problems are those that almost we know how to define the problem and we know how to define the solution. It's just a matter of putting a plan in place. And that's, by the way, many problems that we have in our development, like when we are developing new products, like you have to get to a certain spec and you need the plan to get there. And that's honestly the easy ones. And that's what we tend to always go through and solve. And then the adaptative problems are those that we don't know even how to define the problem, and even less what is the endpoint solution we don't know. So that is distinguishing both and the approach to both. It is one of the fundamental things that this book has given us. So now as a staff, we think, is this a technical problem? So maybe it's not us that we need to solve. There are experts that have to do it. If this is an adaptative problem, that is, how are we going to be organized for the future of AI? All of these new changes require thoughts that are different. So that's one thing that we're using a lot. And the other concept is really this concept of the balcony and the dance floor. So there are people, there is an analogy that says if you are a dance floor person, this means you are always on the whistles, and I'm like this. I like to solve, I like to be in, I like to understand. But I might as a leader, it's better that I go many times to the balcony to observe what is happening. So that is one exercise that personally, I'm doing more, putting myself on the balcony, when we are having a discussion where we are evaluating a big problem, where we need to think, it's always this putting yourself on the balcony to see the system, what is happening. So that are two concepts, that I love and that we're using from the book.
Guayente, you talked about having a coach for your team. So obviously you are implementing adaptive leadership practices and also innovating in parallel. Can you share any challenges you faced doing both in parallel?
So first of all, let me tell you that overall, this is a fun exercise for me, because change is one thing that I enjoy, and I'm also one person that is a learner, so I love to learn. So, not for everyone it is the same thing, but let me tell you, what are the biggest challenges, And first, as a business, we need to ensure that we have, I'm managing one of the biggest, in fact, the biggest business of HP. And we need to manage it in a way that we continue having stability. So there are a lot of things that we need to deliver from the business that we cannot miss. So the balance between continue the stability of the business and of the people, and at the same time manage change, it is one of the most difficult things. And if I go a little bit more specific, is one of the things we have learned through the book is the people resistance to change. This is normal. We have all seen, every time you want to change, even ourselves, at teams, organizations, we have to really see this resistance. And I think one of the learnings that I had from the book was that people is not resistant to the change by itself, it's to the losses. So one thing that you need to evaluate when there are changes is not that you don't want to change. People always want to do something better. It's the feeling that you are losing. So acknowledging for the organization, which are organizations are like a body, are like a soul, they have soul. So what are the losses for the organization? What are the losses for the team? And what are the losses for each individual? I think it's very, very, very important. So that is the first thing is understand the resistance to change, and for that is acknowledge, the losses, and also we have put in new processes, to understand this that I'm telling you. It is what is the change about? What are we losing? So that is the first thing that we did. The second thing is, I think the big thing, it was not only, it is in this adaptive leadership, it's not the technical issues that we want to get better, it's the adaptive leadership. And for that, you need to do a lot of cultural and behavioral shifts, and there are a few things that we have been doing. One is encouraging risk-taking. So in these adaptive problems, we don't know what the solution is. Sometimes, remember, we cannot even define what the problem is. So what we are doing is having a culture shift where I'm encouraging and my staff too, okay, so I know this is a risky decision, and for our business, let's still take it. Okay, so this is like a cultural change that I'm embracing. No, the second thing is we need to continue fostering collaboration and make sure that our teams, and especially in organizations like HP, like we depend a lot of, like there are horizontal functions, vertical functions, we depend in a lot of people. So fostering the collaboration and like with this joint mentality of risk, like I think is the second thing that I had to change more. The third thing, like that, like we are implementing is communication. This thing that I'm doing with you now, we have done it like with many people in the organization across the. So I have been talking about this adaptive leadership to the like thousands of people that like are in my business, as well as with my staff, as well as with the directors, the executive from my organization. So communication and open communication on what is the intent, what are we doing, I think has been very important. And I always talk about like the 3 T's, like of communications that are tangible, transparent, and timely. Okay, so that is the other thing that we have to change. And then like this was more for the change, but the other thing that I have done is, remember the big challenge was balance, like the current, maintain this balance, the stability while changing. So then we have been very, very conscious on ensuring that we have good operational and maintaining the operational, what I call the governance and efficiency. So we have very, good discussions every morning, all the staff. Tuesdays is about the portfolio, Wednesdays is about strategy, Thursdays is about the MPI. And maintaining this rigor on the governance, it gives people the sense of stability while we are doing the change. So this is truly like a high level what we are doing.
That was high level, but it was a fantastic summary of how you brought it all together. And I really like what you talked about communication, and how I think one thing that I learned from the book is the way you talk can change the way you work. And the 3 T's that you presented was fantastic. You are a very successful woman in STEM and business. And like you talked about, you've led organizational transformation. Can you share any personal experiences for young women who are listening to this podcast and they're exploring adaptive leadership? Some new tips and tricks for them?
So I think first I wanted to tell you that one more thing that we're doing is precisely related to the leadership and management. I believe that managers are those that just focus on the technical problems and are part of the solution, are always on the dance floor, are doing, and that are managers. What we are looking for are leaders. Our leaders are those that are taking into account diverse perspectives, that are on the balcony and that can't truly adapt. And for that, I personally very convinced that women in general have those characteristics more embedded. This does not mean it's everyone, because I truly believe on what I call the diversity of soul. Every one of us is different and we bring different things. But I think in general, the empathy, the desire to communicate and collaborate, the desire that women have, to change and change from within, from the culture, from the people. I think this gives an advantage, for the future. So if there is one message that I want to transmit to any young person that is listening to this, is that this adaptive leadership, I'm convinced, is the future, because we have more adaptive problems than before, many more. I think women's skills, are very good for that. They just need to embrace, and really continue, communicating, with effectiveness, ensure, they are very team oriented, with collaboration, inclusion, and consensus building. This is skills that are very basic, for the majority of the women. So they just need to put them in practice, they don't need to be shy, and they need to lean in, ensuring that they practice these beliefs, because they are the basis, for the adaptive leadership. And one thing that I would even tell myself if I was young, one of the things in companies is the resilience. And I think this is one area that we need to tell to everyone, but especially for women, learn to be resilient I think is very important. This doesn't mean adapt and say like whatever everyone tells you, like you need to adapt. Like you need to think, always keeping your values, always, but ensuring that you have the resilience, because the different, like there are different problems, how they affect you. So like you need to have, like a training. That's the one thing that I'm lately saying to everyone is, learn how to be resilient, continue with your strong values, and look at this adaptive leadership as a strength that will help you to be very successful at work.
That's fantastic. Thank you for that keyword, resilience. In today's world, how do you see the concept of adaptive leadership evolving in the future? You talked a little bit about it earlier, but especially in this remote work and global economy, can you share some additional tips to the listeners? How can they start practicing this principle in today's world?
And as I said, that is not just because it's the last adaptive leadership book that I have read. Is because I truly believe that this type of leadership is the one that is going to make companies successful in the future, and is the only leadership style that I truly believe will succeed. So that I think, if I look at this, plus the fact, today, if you look at our business, AI is going to be transforming the way we work. That is one of the major things that is happening now. It's changing the way it works. Every one of us is going to be working. So the way now I'm having meetings prepared, the way I'm taking actions, the way I'm just getting ready, the way I'm doing presentations, the way I am extracting insights, it's completely different thanks to AI and to the AI PC. And I think this is one of the major changes that are happening. So today, if you ask me, what should we do to apply all of this, is read the book, and some tips, as I told you, is everyone will have to do a little bit of self-awareness. In my case, remember that I told you I'm more a dance floor person versus balcony. So reflect on how you can apply and how you have to adjust yourself. The first thing is self-awareness, how to adapt yourself, to the situation and to the business that you're in, to the work that you are developing. That is the first thing. Second, truly, I think that we all need to learn what is an adaptive and technical problem, not to confuse them, because if you apply technical solutions to an adaptive problem, you will never get to where you have to do. So that, I think, is the second thing. And the third thing truly is around what I told you. I think communication with your peers, with your teams, with your bosses, the communication on where you are, what is the problem, how you define it, where are you, I think it's going to be very important. So it's truly a self-awareness, continue the split between the technical and the adaptive problems. That's very important. And communication, depending on where you are, you need to make sure that, as I said, it's timely and is transparent and is tangible.
Thank you, Guayente. What you talked about, the practice of adaptive leadership is a fantastic leadership framework, which is very practical, developed by Ronald Heifetz and Marty Linsky. You especially emphasized on how to navigate the complex changing environments by encouraging leaders to adapt and thrive beyond traditional technical solutions. We really want to thank you for your takeaways and reflections. I want to express my gratitude to our listeners and our guest, Guayente. Your curiosity and engagement drive this podcast, and I'm excited to continue this journey of exploration and discovery with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you.